So in the last 15 years, I've had almost an obsession when it came to trying to understand myself, trying to understand why I've suffered so deeply and so chronically over the duration of my life. I would look to the outside world and it wouldn't correlate to how I felt inside, so I'd always blame myself. I'd always think I was fundamentally flawed, and that in itself caused problems. But on my journey of trying to look for anything I can, researching self-help books, spiritual books, I've read so many. And one person that was very helpful to me was Michael Singer. I absolutely loved his analogy on healing as being a spring. It's always there, it's always bubbling. We just block it down. We block it down with life, we block it down with drugs, alcohol, sex, work, anything we can to try and escape these feelings inside. And so many things he said has really helped me on my journey. But I think there are some things that may not work for some people, and myself included. I would try and practice the act of surrender, like Michael Singer says, and I'd try and surrender, and it just felt almost torturous. To surrender what I do not know, to surrender to what I do not understand, continuously, day after day, takes tremendous faith. And I didn't have that faith. I would be desperate to distract myself in the end. I would not feel like I was getting anything positive from it. And it was only when I started to acknowledge what had happened to me, to understand what has happened to me, that I was able to surrender to what is. And I think a lot of people will probably struggle with this. If they've listened to the book and they're trying to surrender, it may be a up and down scenario, and it can be very tiring and make you very restless with the whole process. Now, healing isn't fun. However, the pain we go through, the pain we release, allows us to experience a better future, a better standard of well-being inside. So when we can acknowledge that, we can start to work through that pain. Now, it didn't work for me to just surrender. I had had a lifetime of denying myself, a lifetime of shunning myself, having feelings inside that I considered bad, feelings inside I considered good, and I was just constantly alternating between the two, going, oh, I feel bad today, oh, I feel good today, oh, it was constantly back and forth. And it wasn't until I acknowledged all of my feelings as having nothing wrong with them. None of the feelings I feel are wrong. They are what they are. And then I needed to understand why they're there. And as I objectively looked at my childhood and my narcissistic mama that had schizophrenia and how she built me, she groomed me into what I was, and I looked at the situations I've been through and imagine my child in that situation, it all of a sudden made sense. It is no wonder that I have experienced what I have experienced, why I've suffered the way I suffered, why I've clung to addictions the way I have, why I have lived the way I have. It makes sense. It makes sense. If my child would go through that, I'd be mortified. So when those feelings started to arise in me that were so overwhelming, all of a sudden I go, I know why you're there. I know exactly why you're there. It's been hard. It's been very difficult. And I'm willing to move forward now. I'm not in that same place anymore. I understand why you're there. You are not wrong in feeling the way you feel. We can just feel it. We can just, have a warm drink, lie down, have a hot bath, and just comfort ourselves in that moment when we're in that complex PTSD state. And it was very soothing for me to understand when the overwhelming feelings came that it was because of everything I've been through. The neglect, the gaslighting for however long it was, the psychological abuse I entailed. And I had no one to go to, no one to speak to, no one to feel comfortable with. I saw humans as a threat. They were dangerous. So I just internalized everything. So when the feelings came, I'd go, it is no fucking wonder that I have suffered the way I've suffered. I have been groomed by a schizophrenic narcissist. And it allowed me to let those feelings pass through me. When I wasn't fully aware of this, and I would listen to Michael Singer and other self-help books, and it was like, you need to relax and release, it is what it is, blah, blah, blah. I couldn't do it. I would try. I would listen to Michael Singer at work all the time when I was driving between jobs, and it would give me peace in the moment maybe, but it come flushing back straight away as soon as I wasn't listening to it. And I felt frustrated. Why am I not progressing? Why is this still such a big problem for me? And then I'd blame myself and I'd feel frustrated, and it was just that it created more chaos. But it wasn't until I acknowledged why I have those feelings, understand that it is no wonder that I have those feelings. They're not bad feelings, they're a reaction to what you've been through, and then I can breathe into them. Then I can release them. Then I cannot judge them. Then I can comfort myself and have compassion for myself for what I've been through when, like the analogy I used in my last video, if you look at a small child and you imagine them going through what you've been through, or your own child going through what you've been through, and if they acted like you do, they have addictions, they frustrate, they have anger problems, all these things, would you go, you need to get a grip, just get over it, just relax and release, mate? All of a sudden, you have a level of compassion that you didn't have for yourself. And this is where the work is. This is where the deep work is self-compassion. Understanding what you've been through, understanding the way you've lived your life, whether you've had addictions, whether you fuck things up, whatever it is, understanding that that is all a product of unresolved trauma that you've been through, and having compassion for yourself in that moment, and understanding it's no wonder I had no guidance. No one told me this. Life didn't come with a manual to tell me how to deal with these situations. I was a kid. And the peace I felt since this realization has been far more profound than anything I've ever done. Far more profound than any other book I've read. All of the self-help books I've read have had their place on my journey. But no one's really spoke about, you got Pete Walker, which is a great book, Complex PTSD, great book, highly recommend it. That enabled me to understand that the experiences that came up inside me were feelings of the past. Michael Singer made me feel like healing was possible. What I need to heal is within me. I have a spring that wants to flourish, it wants to heal, but I've put stuff down because I couldn't cope with it. All these different things have had their place in my healing journey. But the final one that allowed me to move on was understanding that I have grown up and been conditioned by someone very mentally ill. It makes sense. And when I can make sense of something, I can move on. I can release it. I can go through the pain if I know why it's there. And now I know why it's there, I can move on. So if you've listened to Michael Singer and you love the analogies like me and you love what he's speaking about, but it's not quite jive with you and you've not really got what you wanted to get from it, maybe you need to look in this domain. Inside, compassion, acceptance, and really understanding what you've been through. If you had a narcissistic parent that's groomed you from day dot, it is no wonder you are suffering internally. I think some things that the way Michael Singer says some things may not work for some people. For example, he makes comments like, you're crying about mummy and daddy, what they've done to you and stuff. That's the past. Get over it. Get over it. But if you've had a lifetime of non-acknowledgement and then you don't acknowledge yourself, I think this is where people stay trapped. This is where people don't progress. This is why people don't heal. It's because these self-help teachers, like Michael Singer saying, get over it. What's done is done. You need to accept the now. You've had a childhood of non-acceptance. You've had a childhood of parents that have not really paid interest in you and not acknowledged anything about you or what you're going through. So for you to do it yourself is just a kick in the teeth. It makes me feel sick now to realize that I've lived my life not even acknowledging myself when no one else did as well. And that causes pain, that causes internal suffering, and we need to get to the self-compassion. We need to understand what we've been through so we can move past it. Hopefully this has helped you and can give you more insights into your healing journey, help you progress with your trauma, and just get it out of you. Just get that peace you deserve. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next video.